I need to tell you what's happening to me before it's too late. My name is Margaret Chen. I'm 78 years old, and I'm recording this because I don't know who else to tell. Look at my face. Do you see this bruise here along my cheekbone? And this one on my arm? There are more. So many more. I know what you're thinking when you see an old woman covered in bruises, and maybe you're right to think it. But I need you to listen to my whole story because nothing is quite what it seems. 3 months ago, I was living what I thought was a peaceful retirement in my little house on Maple Street. The same house where I raised my son Thomas. The same house where my late husband Henry built that crooked bookshelf in the living room that I could never bear to replace. Thomas is 45 now, successful, busy with his own life in the city 2 hours away. He calls every Sunday like clockwork, always has, ever since his father passed 6 years ago. How are you, Mom? Are you eating well? Do you need anything? The same questions, week after week, and I always give him the same answers because what else is there to say when your days blend together like watercolors in the rain? But these bruises, they started appearing about 2 months ago. First just small ones that I could explain why I bumped into the kitchen counter. I misjudged the distance to the door frame. I'm just getting clumsy in my old age. That's what I told myself. That's what I told Thomas on our Sunday calls when he asked if everything was okay, because something in my voice must have sounded different. Something he could hear even through the phone lines that stretched between us. I didn't want him to worry. He has his own family now, his own problems, and what kind of mother would I be to burden him with my silly accidents? But then the bruises got worse. The one on my face, I got that 3 days ago. I was reaching for a can of soup on the top shelf of my pantry. A cream of mushroom, Henry's favorite. Though I don't know why I still buy Eura, and suddenly I was on the floor with my cheek throbbing and blood in my mouth. I don't remember falling. One moment I was standing, reaching up, and the next I was down. That's been happening more and more lately. These gaps in time, these moments that just disappear like they never existed at all. The bruise on my arm came from 2 weeks ago when I fell in the bathroom. I was getting out of the shower, and my legs just gave out beneath me. I caught myself on the sink, thank God, but my arm hit the towel rack so hard I saw stars. I laid there on the cold tile floor for what felt like hours, though it was probably only 20 minutes, waiting for the strength to pull myself up. There was no one to call out to, no one to hear me. Just the drip 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 of the shower head that never quite closes all the way, a sound that's become the rhythm of my solitary days. I haven't told Thomas about any of this. How do you tell your son that his mother is falling apart, literally crumbling like the foundation of this old house? He'll want to put me in a home, one of those places with fluorescent lights and the smell of disinfectant barely masking something worse underneath. I've visited friends in those places. I've seen the defeat in their eyes, the way they sit in wheelchairs facing the television playing shows nobody's watching, waiting for visitors who come less and less frequently until they stop coming at all. I can't do that. I won't do that. But I'm scared. I'm so scared and I don't know what to do. Yesterday, I tried to make myself breakfast and found myself standing in the kitchen with a carton of orange juice in one hand and my TV remote in the other, with no memory of how either got there. I looked down and saw another bruise forming on my shin, dark purple spreading under the pale skin like spilled wine on a tablecloth. When did that happen? How did that happen? I'm losing time, losing moments, losing myself piece by piece, and the bruises are the evidence of a violence I can't even remember experiencing. The mailman doesn't come to the door anymore, just leaves everything in the box at the street. The neighbors, they wave from their cars but nobody stops by. Mrs. Peterson next door used to bring me tomatoes from her garden, but she moved away last spring and the new family has young children. No time for the old widow next door. Thomas sends money every month, deposited directly into my account, and he thinks that's enough. Maybe it is. Maybe I'm asking for too much to want something money can't buy. I'm recording this because I need someone to know. I need someone to bear witness to what's happening to me, even if I don't fully understand it myself. These bruises, they're telling a story, but I'm not sure I know how to read it anymore. But what I discovered next made me realize the bruises were just the beginning. When I found the pills, everything started to make sense. It was this morning, and I was looking for my reading glasses. I'm always losing them, leaving them in the strangest places. When I opened my medicine cabinet and really looked at it for the first time in weeks, maybe months. Bottles upon bottles, some I recognized, some I didn't, some with labels so faded I couldn't read them anymore. My blood pressure medication, the one Dr. Martinez prescribed 2 years ago. My cholesterol pills, something for my thyroid, calcium supplements, vitamin D baby aspirin, and there, in the back, half hidden behind the others, 3 bottles I didn't remember at all. I pulled them out with shaking hands and tried to read the labels. One was a sleeping pill, prescribed 6 months ago when I told my doctor I was having trouble sleeping after Henry died. I'd forgotten about those. Another was for anxiety, from even longer ago, from right after the funeral when the silence of this house felt like it would swallow me whole. The 3rd bottle made my heart stop. A pain medication, strong stuff, prescribed after I had that dental surgery last year. I stared at these bottles, trying to remember the last time I'd taken any of them, and I couldn't remember. But the bottles were lighter than they should be, weren't they? I tried to count the pills, tried to do the math, but my mind felt foggy, like trying to see through dirty glass. Have I been taking these? All of them together. Dr. Martinez always said something about not mixing medications, about being careful, about asking before taking anything new. But there are so many doctors now. You're the heart doctor, the bone doctor, the eye doctor, and the all prescribe things. And nobody seems to talk to each other. And I'm supposed to keep track of it all, but I can't. I just can't anymore. I sat down on the edge of my bathtub, still holding those 3 bottles, and something Dr. Martinez said during my last visit came back to me like a ghost whispering in my ear. Margaret, some of these medications can cause dizziness, especially in older patients. Have you experienced any falls? And I'd said no, because I was embarrassed, because I didn't want her to think I was becoming one of those elderly patients who can't take care of themselves. But what if that's exactly what I am? What if I've been poisoning myself, accidentally, slowly, with pills meant to help me? I stumbled to my bedroom. Stumbled, there's that word again. The word that's become the verb of my existence, and found my cell phone buried under yesterday's newspaper that I don't remember reading. I pulled up the internet browser with fumbling fingers and started searching. Sleeping pills and falls in elderly. The results made my blood run cold. Increased risk of falls, confusion, memory problems, dizziness, every symptom I'd been experiencing, right there on the screen in black and white. Then I searched for the anxiety medication. Same warnings. The pain medication, even worse, should not be taken together without medical supervision. Increased risk in patients over 65. Can cause severe drowsiness and impaired coordination. I've been doing this to myself. Not intentionally, not maliciously, but through sheer loneliness and forgetfulness and the fact that nobody's been here to notice, to ask, to check on me beyond a Sunday phone call. I looked around my bedroom and really saw it for the first time in months. Dust everywhere, piles of laundry I'd washed but never folded, half-eaten meals on the nightstand because some days I'm too tired to walk back to the kitchen, a life half-lived, half-forgotten, slipping away in a pharmaceutical haze I didn't even know I was in. I called Thomas, not our usual Sunday call, but right then on a Thursday afternoon, and I could hear the worry in his voice when he answered. Mom, is everything okay? You never call on Thursdays, and I wanted to tell him everything. I wanted to confess about the bruises and the falls and the pills and the terrible, crushing loneliness that makes me take things I shouldn't just to make it through another empty day. But when I opened my mouth, what came out was, I'm fine, sweetheart. I just wanted to hear your voice. Because how do you tell your child that you're drowning in plain sight? How do you admit that the independence you've been so proud of is actually killing you? He chatted about his kids, about work, about the weather, and I made appropriate sounds while staring at the pill bottles lined up on my nightstand like little soldiers of my own destruction. After we hung up, I did something I should have done months ago. I gathered every single medication bottle in my house, from the bathroom cabinet, from the kitchen counter, from my nightstand, from the drawer in the living room where I'd stashed some just in case. I counted them. 14 bottles, 14 different medications from 6 different doctors. And I couldn't tell you with certainty what half of them were supposed to do or when I'd last taken them. Some were expired, labels from 2-3 years ago. Some I didn't even remember being prescribed. I'd been taking pills at random. Whenever I felt bad, whenever I couldn't sleep, whenever the loneliness felt too heavy, without any system, without any oversight, without anyone to stop me or ask questions or care enough to notice that something was terribly, terribly wrong. Then I looked at my calendar and saw something that made my heart stop. I haven't left this house in 47 days. I know because I checked my calendar, the one hanging on my kitchen wall that Henry gave me every Christmas, a tradition his daughter continues now with the same dutiful distance. There's my last grocery store trip, marked in my shaky handwriting with a little star because I'd been so proud of myself for going out. November 24th, before Thanksgiving, and today is January 10th. 47 days of having everything delivered, of avoiding the world, of convincing myself I was fine, just tired, just old. But looking at that calendar, really looking at it, I saw the pattern I'd been refusing to see. The gaps between outings getting longer, doctor's appointments marked and then crossed out with rescheduled written beside them in increasingly illegible script. Thomas's Sunday calls noted with a little heart, the only regular human contact in a sea of empty squares. And in the margins, in tiny letters I barely remembered writing, notes to myself. Dizzy today, fell again, can't remember if I ate. Little breadcrumbs of my decline that I'd left for myself like some desperate message from the past to the future. Except I am both the past and the future now, and neither version of me did anything to help. I traced my finger over those 47 empty days and tried to remember what I'd done with all that time. The hours must have gone somewhere, but they're just gone, evaporated like morning dew, and all I have to show for them are these bruises, and this growing collection of pill bottles, and a refrigerator full of spoiling food I'd ordered online and then forgotten to eat. My last visitor, I realized with a jolt that felt like ice water in my veins, was the delivery driver who'd brought my groceries on that last trip out. He'd left them on the porch, knocked, and driven away before I could even get to the door. Before that, I scrolled through my phone looking for clues. A text from my neighbor, the new family with young children, from 6 weeks ago. Hi Mrs. Chen, we haven't seen you around. Just checking if you're okay? And I'd responded, fine. Just a bit under the weather. Thank you for asking. But they never followed up, and I never reached out again. And that was the end of that. A missed call from my friend Barbara, my last remaining friend from the book club we used to attend together before the pandemic scattered us all like leaves. I'd meant to call her back. When was that? October, September. I couldn't remember. I found her number and stared at it for a long time. This string of digits that connected me to another human being who might actually care. And I couldn't make myself press call. What would I say? Sorry, I've been out of touch. I've been slowly losing my mind in my own home. I set the phone down and walked through my house, really walked through it, seeing it the way a stranger might see it. The newspapers piled up by the front door, weeks and weeks of unread news about a world I'd stopped participating in. The curtains drawn in every room because opening them felt like too much effort. The dishes in the sink, crusty with food from meals I couldn't remember cooking or eating. The bathroom where I'd fallen, and fallen again, with the towel still lying on the floor from the last time because I'd been too weak or too tired or too defeated to pick it up. This isn't living. This is existing. This is waiting to die in slow motion. And the worst part is that I'd been doing it to myself, telling myself I was maintaining my independence, maintaining my dignity, when really I was just too proud and too scared to admit I needed help. I thought about all those Sunday calls with Thomas, all those times he'd asked, "Are you okay?" And I'd lied and said yes. He believed me because people want to believe that their parents are fine, that the people who raised them are still capable, still whole, still the strong figures they remember from childhood. And I let him believe it because admitting the truth felt like admitting defeat. But this is defeat, This pile of pills and empty days and bruises I can't explain is defeat. The real defeat isn't asking for help it's drowning alone because you're too proud to reach for the life preserver. I went back to my bedroom and looked at myself in the mirror, really looked. An old woman stared back at me, thin and pale, with bruises like storm clouds across her skin. When did I get so thin? When did my eyes get so hollow? When did I become this ghost haunting her own life? I remembered what I used to look like, strong, capable, a woman who raised a son, who buried a husband, who survived and thrived and lived. Where did she go? She didn't leave all at once. She left in increments, in pills taken wrong and meals skipped and human connections severed one by one until there was nothing left but this shell, this shadow, this stranger in the mirror. My phone rang, startling me so badly I nearly dropped it. Thomas, our Thursday call because I'd worried him earlier. Mom, I've been thinking about what you said earlier. You didn't sound like yourself. I'm coming to visit this weekend. And there it was. The moment I'd been dreading and desperately needing all at once. He would see this house. He would see me. He would see the truth I'd been hiding behind cheerful Sunday phone calls and I'm fine and don't worry about me. That's not necessary. I heard myself say, the old pride rising up like bile. I told you, I'm fine, Mom. His voice was gentle but firm, the voice he uses with his children when they're being stubborn. I'm coming. I should have come sooner. I should have been there. And something in me broke, just cracked open like an egg, and the truth came spilling out. When I finally told him the truth, his response changed everything. The silence after I spoke was the longest of my life. I'd just told Thomas everything, the falls, the bruises, the pills, the 47 days of not leaving the house, the fog in my mind that made every day feel like walking through water. All of it came pouring out in a breathless confession that left me shaking and crying and gasping for air, like I'd been holding my breath for months and finally could breathe again. And then silence. Just the quiet hum of the phone line connecting us across 2 hours of highway and a lifetime of things left unsaid. Mom, he finally said, and his voice was thick with emotion I couldn't quite identify. Anger, grief, relief, all of it maybe. Why didn't you tell me sooner? How do you answer that question? How do you explain that admitting you need help feels like admitting failure, like disappointing the people who depend on you to be strong, like accepting that the end is coming faster than you thought? I didn't want to be a burden, I whispered, and even as I said it, I heard how hollow it sounded. How many times he must have heard that same phrase from other patients, other parents, other people too proud to ask for the help they desperately needed. A burden, his voice cracked. Mom, you're my mother. You're not a burden. You're God, Mom, you could have died. You could be dying right now, and I wouldn't even know because I've been calling once a week and believing everything you told me because I wanted to believe it. Because it was easier than actually checking, than actually being there, than doing the hard thing and visiting more often and really seeing what was happening. Now he was crying too. And the sound of my grown son weeping on the other end of the phone line broke something in me that I didn't know could still break. I'm coming today, he said. Right now. I'm getting in the car and I'm coming, and we're going to figure this out together, okay? You're not alone. You've never been alone. I let you think you were, and I'm so sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry. After we hung up, I sat in my dusty living room and waited. I didn't clean. I didn't try to hide the evidence of my decline. For the first time in months, I just sat and waited and let myself feel the relief of not having to pretend anymore. He arrived 6 hours later, bursting through my front door with fear in his eyes that softened into something else when he saw me. You're a concern, love, determination. He hugged me carefully, like I might break, and maybe I would have, but not anymore. Not now. We spent that evening talking, really talking. He made me tea and insisted I eat something while he went through my medicine cabinet, lining up all 14 bottles on the kitchen table like evidence at a crime scene. We're taking you to the doctor tomorrow, he said. A real appointment, not a phone call. And we're going to get all of this sorted out. What you should be taking, what you shouldn't, what might be causing the falls and the confusion. And then, we're going to figure out a better system because this Ayura, he gestured at the bottles. At the house, at me, Ayura, this can't happen again. That night, For the first time in 47 days, I didn't take any pills. Thomas had packed them all away after taking pictures of each label, creating a list to take to the doctor. I was terrified I wouldn't be able to sleep without them, but exhaustion pulled me under like a wave, and I slept deeper and more peacefully than I had in months. The next day, he took me to Dr. Martinez. We sat in her office, and this time I didn't lie. I told her everything while Thomas held my hand, and I watched her face shift from concern to something like controlled alarm as the full picture emerged. She ran tests, blood work, balance tests, cognitive assessments, a medication review that took over an hour, and at the end of it all, she looked at me with kind but serious eyes and said, "Margaret, you've been experiencing what we call polypharmacia. You're taking multiple medications that interact with each other in dangerous ways. Combined with isolation and lack of nutrition, it's created a perfect storm. The falls, the confusion, the memory loss. These aren't just age. This is fixable. Such a simple word, but it landed in my chest like hope, heavy and warm and almost painful after so long without it. Over the next few days, Thomas and I created a new routine. He couldn't stay for a very year. He had his own family, his own life, but he could help me build something sustainable. We set up a pill organizer with only the medications Dr. Martinez confirmed I actually needed, reduced from 14 bottles to 5. We arranged for a visiting nurse to check on me twice a week. We connected with a grocery delivery service that would bring fresh food, and Thomas programmed his phone to remind me to eat lunch every day, with a video call if I didn't respond. We opened all the curtains, letting light flood back into my house for the first time in months. We cleaned together, not just the surface mess but the deep neglect, scrubbing away the physical evidence of my isolation. We called Barbara, my friend from book club, and I apologized for disappearing, and she cried and said she'd been worried but didn't want to intrude, and we made plans to have coffee the next week. Thomas found a senior center 10 minutes from my house that I'd never known existed, with activities and classes and other people my age who might understand what it's like to be afraid of becoming invisible. But the most important change happened when I looked in the mirror 1 week later. This is what it looks like when you come back to life. 1 week after Thomas's visit, I stood in front of my bathroom mirror and almost didn't recognize myself. Not because I looked worse, but because I looked alive. The bruises were fading, yellow and green now, instead of that deep purple that had marked me like a map of violence that was really just neglect. My eyes were clearer. I was standing straighter. I was here, really here, present in my own life for the first time in months. The visiting nurse, Patricia, had come 3 times already. She wasn't just checking my vitals and my medications a year. She talked to me. Really talked. About her kids, about her divorce, about the book she was reading. She treated me like a person, not a patient, not a problem to be solved, and I'd forgotten how good that felt, to be seen as someone worth talking to, worth knowing. Yesterday I went to the senior center. I was terrified. I almost turned around twice on the walk there, my heart pounding, my mind conjuring up 1,000 reasons to go home. But I forced myself to walk through those doors, and I'm so glad I did. There was a painting class happening, something I'd never tried before, and the instructor, a woman maybe 10 years younger than me named Carol, handed me a brush and said, "Don't worry about making it perfect. Just make it yours." I painted for 2 hours. I have no idea if it was any good, but it was mine. My hands moving, my choices, my colors. When I got home, I hung that terrible, wonderful painting on my refrigerator like I used to hang Thomas's childhood artwork, and every time I see it, I remember that I'm still capable of creating, of learning, of being more than just a body declining in isolation. Barbara came for coffee on Wednesday. We sat at my kitchen table, the same table where 14 pill bottles had been lined up like soldiers just days before, and we laughed. Actually laughed, deep belly laughs about something ridiculous from our book club days. And I realized I couldn't remember the last time I'd laughed like that. Maybe months, maybe longer. She's coming back next week, and we're talking about starting our book club again. Just the 2 of us for now. But maybe we can find others, Maybe we can build something that was lost. Thomas calls every day now, not just Sundays. Sometimes just for a few minutes, sometimes longer, but every day. And I'm honest with him. When I have a bad day, when I feel the fog trying to creep back in, when I'm scared or lonely or tired, I tell him. And he listens. And sometimes he can help and sometimes he can't. But at least we're both telling the truth now. At least we're both trying. Yesterday he told me he'd been feeling guilty for years, ever since Henry died, wondering if he should have moved me closer to him, if he should have visited more, if he'd failed me by getting so caught up in his own life. And I told him what I'm telling you now. We both failed. We failed each other by not being honest, by not asking the hard questions, by letting pride and fear and the myth of independence keep us from the connection we both needed. But we're fixing it. Slowly, imperfectly, but we're fixing it. Dr. Martinez says my balance is improving. The medication changes have made an enormous differencia. You're no more sleeping pills. No more mixing things that should never be mixed. Just a simple routine with a pill organizer and a chart on my refrigerator that even I can't mess up. I still have moments of confusion, moments where I can't remember what I was doing or why I walked into a room, but they're getting less frequent. And when they happen, I don't panic anymore. I write it down. I tell Patricia when she visits. I'm not hiding it. This morning I woke up, and my first thought wasn't about how to get through another empty day. It was about the painting class this afternoon, about the book Barbara and I are reading together, about the fact that Thomas is bringing my grandchildren to visit next month, and I need to figure out what activities we can do together. I'm making plans again. I'm living in the future tense, not just surviving in the present. I want to tell you something important, whoever you are watching this. If you're young and you have parents or grandparents living alone, call them. Not just once a week on Sunday like clockwork, you're really call them. Video call so you can see their faces. Ask hard questions. Have you fallen? Are you eating? When was the last time you left the house? Don't accept I'm fine as an answer. Push, care, show up. Because I promise you, they're probably not fine. And they're probably too proud or too scared or too ashamed to tell you the truth. And if you're watching this and you're like Iwasa, you're isolated, confused, hiding your decline behind pride and fear, please hear me. You are not a burden. You are not failing. You are not less worthy of care and connection because you've gotten older or sicker or more dependent. Asking for help isn't giving up. Asking for help is choosing to live. I'm recording this final part because I want people to understand that elder neglect isn't always obvious. It's not always someone actively hurting an older person. Sometimes it's quieter than that. It's the slow disappearance that happens when someone lives alone and no one notices they're slipping away. It's the pills that pile up because no one's coordinating care. It's the falls that go unreported because there's no one to report them to. It's the loneliness that becomes so normal you forget what connection feels like. It's the bruises that everyone assumes have a sinister cause when really they're just the marks of being forgotten. I'm one of the lucky ones. I had a son who came when I finally asked. I had doctors who listened. I had resources and insurance and a house and enough money to make changes. But there are so many others who don't have these things, who are still sitting in houses like mine was, surrounded by pill bottles and empty days and nobody to call. We have to do better. We have to check on each other. We have to build communities where older people aren't invisible, where isolation isn't accepted as just part of aging, where asking for help is encouraged instead of shameful. My bruises are almost gone now, but I can still see them when I close my eyes, reminding me of how close I came to disappearing completely, and how lucky I am to have been found. If this story touched you, please share it. Check on the elderly people in your life. Your call, your visit, your care might save a life. It saved mine.